In August 1893, a 20-year-old heir was shot dead in the woods of a remote Scottish estate. The two men walking beside him said it was an accident. The doctor who inspired Sherlock Holmes said it was murder. The jury said, neither. This is the Ardlamont Mystery, and more than a century later, no one has ever answered for it. Cecil Hambrough was the kind of young man the Victorian papers loved, heir to a fading family fortune, an officer in training, 20 years old with everything ahead of him. His father, drowning in debt, had placed Cecil in the care of a private tutor, a charming, well-spoken man named Alfred John Monson. Monson didn't just teach Cecil. He managed his affairs, arranged his finances, and in the summer of 1893, rented the sprawling Ardlamont estate on the Cowell Peninsula in Argyll, so the boy could live like the gentleman he was about to become. What Cecil didn't fully understand was what had been signed in his name. Just days before that August, 2 insurance policies had been taken out on his life, £20,000, millions in today's money. The beneficiary, once the paperwork settled, would effectively be Monson's wife. Then the accidents began. On the night of the 9th of August, Cecil went out on the water with Monson in a small rowing boat. The boat sank. Cecil, who could barely swim, scrambled onto a rock and survived. When the boat was later recovered, a hole was found in the hull, and a plug that appeared to have been deliberately removed. Monson called it misfortune. Cecil, remarkably, seems to have laughed it off. He had less than 12 hours to live. The next morning, Cecil, Monson, and a third man, a mysterious guest introduced as Scott, supposedly an engineer, went out shooting rabbits in the woods behind the house. 3 men walked into the trees. A single shot rang out, and only 2 men came back to say what happened. They said Cecil had stumbled climbing over a dike and his own gun had gone off, striking him behind the right ear. The local doctor accepted it. The procurator fiscal accepted it. Cecil was buried as a tragic accident, and Monson promptly tried to claim the insurance money. That's when everything unraveled. The insurers refused to pay and pushed for an investigation. Cecil's body was exhumed, and the Crown brought in 2 of the most formidable forensic minds in Britain, Dr. Henry Littlejohn, Edinburgh's pioneering police surgeon, and Dr. Joseph Bell, the lecturer whose powers of observation had directly inspired a young Arthur Conan Doyle to create Sherlock Holmes. The men behind the world's most famous detective were now working a real killing in the Scottish woods. Their findings were damning. The wound behind Cecil's ear showed no scorching, no blackening, none of the marks a gun fired at point-blank range against his own head should have left. Test firings suggested the fatal shot had come from at least several feet away. In their assessment, Cecil Hambrough could not have shot himself. Someone else pulled that trigger. In December 1893, Alfred Monson stood trial for murder at the High Court in Edinburgh. The evidence of motive was overwhelming: the debts, the policies, the sinking boat the night before. But the defense produced its own experts, who argued an awkward fall could explain the wound, and the man called Scott, the third figure in the woods that morning, had vanished completely. He was later identified as a bookmaker's clerk using a false name. He was never found. He never testified. To this day, no one knows exactly who he was or why he was there. After 10 days, the jury returned Scotland's most haunting verdict: not proven, not innocent, not guilty, simply not proven. Monson walked free, and here's the strange final chapter. Within weeks, Madame Tussauds placed a waxwork of Monson near the entrance to its Chamber of Horrors. Monson sued for libel, and won. The case Monson versus Tussauds set a precedent in English defamation law that's still cited today, that an image, even a wax figure, can defame a man. He was awarded damages of exactly 1 farthing, the lowest coin in the realm. The jury's opinion of him could not have been clearer. Monson drifted on into fraud convictions and obscurity. The Hambrough family got nothing, and Cecil, 20 years old, shot in a quiet stretch of Scottish woodland, never got an answer. No one was ever convicted. The man called Scott was never traced. The Ardlamont Mystery remains exactly that. If this case was new to you, that's the point of this channel. The cases Britain forgot, told properly and told with respect. Subscribe to the cordon so the next one doesn't stay forgotten. And if you know of a case from your own town that deserves this treatment, leave it in the comments.